Stuck between a libertarian and a Republican. Welcome to Publitarian Podcast.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. This is Ronald Johnson, Publitarian, coming with a more than likely brief edition of Publitarian Podcast. Didn't even really feel like putting out a podcast this week. I'm just sick to my stomach of the deplatforming of conservatives in social media, and then more sick to my stomach by people on supposedly our side of the aisle either being complicit or cheering it on or not caring about it. And it's really put me in a foul mood where I didn't even want to record a podcast this week. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, then I'm not any better than anybody else, and I'm getting ready to dress down. So like I said, this is going to be a brief podcast. I just want to have a quick conversation with everybody. I don't even want to say everybody on the right side of the political aisle, because it's starting to become the difference between good and evil. It's starting to become the difference between common sense and logic and full-on insanity. And I know people on my side of the aisle, libertarians, conservatives, free thinkers. I know, believe me, because I'm one of you. You don't want this fight. You just want to raise your kids. You just want to go to work, and you want to live your life and have a good country and not be bothered by all this political bullshit. Well, guess what? You don't have a choice. The fight is coming. And not only is the fight coming, we are 40 years too late to this culture war. I've said it a billion times, and I'll continue to say it. And we are just now starting to educate a generation and turn the boat around and try and plug all the leaks in the ship. And thank you to all of my young listeners and followers out there that get it. But all of the institutions in place that breed liberalism, that breed leftism, that breed Marxism, they are still very much intact. The National Education Association, Hollywood, limousine liberals, the big elite ruling class, the politicians in DC, left and right, that are just a part of that political class, the unelected bureaucrats, the voter fraud that I've done 2-part episodes on now, all of that is still in place. And we're 40 years too late to this. And we're just now starting to realize and fight. And then the other mistake we're making is we're still trying to fight on this even fair playing field. And we don't have this option anymore. We're running out of options. So those of you out there that say, oh, well, I mean, you know, this political fight isn't for me. I don't want to be involved with this. I just want to live my life. I just want to raise my kids. I get that sentiment, but believe me, you don't have that option anymore. At the very, very, very least, you've got to vote. But it's so much bigger than that now. You've got to start also voting with your dollars on what products you consume, and especially huge one, where your children are being educated. Because if you're taking them to public school to be educated, you're going to have an uphill battle of things to undo once their quote-unquote education is done. That's to the people on my team. Now, to all you other conservatives out there that thought it was really great that Laura Loomer got deplatformed, or Milo, or Alex Jones, and you're celebrating that, because no matter what you think about them, whether you think they're kooks or idiots or whatever, that's just wave one. Guess who the oligarchs are going to be coming for next? There isn't going to be anybody spared in this virtual, but also physical, intellectual, ideological war that's happening right now. Laura Loomer actually gets off her ass every day and does something. People are like, oh, well, she whines too much. She cares too much about herself. Oh, she's just whining how horrible life is all the time. She's assaulted 24/7 for doing 80% of the journalistic work that none of you want to do. None of you are wanting to ask those questions. And she's out there doing it. So I will continue to defend her. And shame on any of you conservatives. And there's some of you I've had to dress down on Instagram and on my podcast, and I'll continue to do so, that think it's really cute that she doesn't have a platform anymore. Guess what? Assholes are going to be coming for you next. Leftism always bands together. There is some liberal cannibalism where the marginalized groups don't see the big communist picture and they infight, but they band together so much to where our side of the aisle is always just haphazard. Because, it's elementary. We're all free thinkers. We all believe in individual thinking, so it's hard to herd a bunch of individuals. It's like herding cats. But I'm telling you right now, you need to start getting behind these voices. And freaking Cuck Shapiro out there talking about Milo Yiannopoulos, who's also been an effective voice. I know you could also challenge my argument and say, well, Ronald, aren't you doing the same thing? Now you're dressing down people on your side of the aisle. Yeah, because they need it. They need to know that we are all in this fight together. It's so ridiculous. And yeah, maybe Alex Jones is a nutball, but you know what? There's a lot of what he says that's correct. Anyway, they threw in Louis Farrakhan, just the crazy left-winger, just so it wouldn't look like that they were being biased in some sort of way. Just so freaking ridiculous. And according to Laura Loomer, she shared a link on her Telegram. Telegram is an app that Laura Loomer, Milo Yiannopoulos, and others have had to resort to since they've been deplatformed. And you can follow them. It's a social media app of sorts. It's kind of like for messaging, but they just send out their daily messages. But anyway, there is on Laura Loomer's Telegram, she shared an article from Big League Politics that said that the media had advanced knowledge. There was one specifically article. Hold on, let me just get it. Let me pull it up so I'm saying it right. Yeah, here it is. The article from Big League Politics in the tech section. Zucked. Facebook gave left-wing media advance notice of InfoWars, Loomer, Yiannopoulos bans. Facebook gave advance notice to several mainstream media outlets before the latest purge. Big League Politics has confirmed that Facebook gave establishment media, including The Atlantic, advance notice of their plan to ban Alex Jones, Paul Joseph Watson, Laura Loomer, and Milo Yiannopoulos from Facebook and Instagram. Facebook sent an embargoed press release to The Atlantic and other outlets, now they're saying here, likely including The Washington Post, The Verge, and CNN. It sounded like I said The Virgin CNN. That's funny. The Verge and CNN. Sacrifice the Virgin CNN. Here we go. Taylor Lorenz from The Atlantic confirmed that they received the embargoed press release, as did, quote, tons of media outlets, end quote. So there we go. So there's a reporter confirming that the other media outlets did get them. But just to be clear, there's no other media outlet saying that they did so far, except for The Atlantic. So that's from Big League Politics. So they already had advanced knowledge of it happening. They had to get their narrative constructed and ready to go, so everything was in place. And this has happened before. Remember the Roger Stone raid? Like he was some kind of freaking serial murderer. CNN gets advanced knowledge that the FBI is getting ready to raid Roger Stone. They have time to set up their cameras and everything, so they make it a really nice production. And this is evil. This is so freaking evil and horrible. So I say again to people that are supposedly on my side of the aisle, you are celebrating this stuff right now because you think it's not happening to you. Whatever the government does to one person, it can do to another person. Whatever it has power to do to one person, it can do to another person. That's why typically right-wingers, conservatives, freethinkers, libertarians believe in a limited government. In other news that nobody cares about or paid attention to, the White House Correspondents' Dinner that happened last week, President does not attend that, and why would he? I think Sarah Sanders attended the one in the previous year, and then she just got attacked basically the whole time. So I don't think she was there for this one as well. But what I wanted to bring up about the White House Correspondents' Dinner was these self-important journalists. So here's what happened. This journalist, he, instead of giving the floor to a comedian like they did last year, they have a journalist come up, which I don't know which was worse, a left-wing comedian or a left-wing journalist. So this idiot, like they like to do, they like to use children. He comes up there, he gets the mic. Of course, he starts talking about the evil Nazi that is Donald Trump. And the guy actually said his 11-year-old son was asking him if Donald Trump was going to lock his dad up. You know, because he's a journalist. He's an enemy of the people, because Trump called the media the enemy of the people. No. He called you guys, you left-wing, lying, socialist, Marxist idiots, the enemy of the people. And he's right. You are. Anyway, there are only 3 answers for this guy, that he is the way he is, this journalist that's at the White House Correspondents' Center. And not even just journalists, anybody that's peddling this idea of socialism on the left or big government on the left. These media people, these political elites, these limousine liberals. There's only 3 explanations. The politicians too, there's only 3 explanations, or 3 categories, 3 answers that they fall into. 1, they really are freaking morons. Simple enough. 2, they've been drinking their own Kool-Aid for so long that they honestly believe the bullshit that they are saying. Or 3, and it's the most likely, they know exactly what they're doing and they know exactly what they are saying, and they are the media wing of the elite, or they are a part of the elite. Remember, it was Obama that spied on AP journalists. That was a president that was spying on journalists, that was watching what they said, how they reported things. And that was the AP. The rest of the media, except for maybe Fox and Breitbart, fell in lockstep with Obama anyway, so there wasn't much that he had to police. That's police state stuff. That's scary. So anyway, the media, the liberal elites, the politicians, they fall into one of those 3 categories. And it's one of those 3. They're either really that dumb, or they've been telling the lie so long that they actually believe it, or, and I think this is, except for some of the useful idiots that vote, I think this is the large swath of that block. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're saying. And they want big government, socialism, tyrannical police power, state-controlled everything. And that's scary. And you people on the right that are celebrating, swerving back into this, you people on the right that are celebrating these voices on the right getting banned, you might be next. You might be next. I might be next. Red Pilled America did a podcast on this, about the company towns in the turn of the century. And if you on the right fall into this category of, well, it's a private company, they can do what they, okay, yeah, they're a private company, they can do what they want. Remember the company towns, these mining towns that owned everything, that were basically just enslaving people? And they fell back on that argument all the time. Well, we're a private company. They own the streets, they own the cops, they owned everything. That did not turn out well for anybody. Yes, I am a free market capitalist, but America is all about checks and balances. And there needs to be some checks and balances. You can't be a publisher and publish things and not be reined in by the governing body that governs publishers. Like, you can't just say whatever the hell you want, and then when they come after you, go, oh, well, we're an open forum. We can't be sued. Okay, well, which is it? Are you an open forum or are you a publisher? Because it sounds like you're a publisher. You're choosing what goes on your site and what doesn't. If it was truly an open forum, these people would not be banned. Anyway, rant over about that. Anyway, on to more news. And I want to give a shout out to Pierced Sky, one of my Instagram followers, for sending this to me. I had no idea about this. Now, you've probably seen the news story of the black rapper taking the MAGA hats off of the Asian guys walking down the street as it went viral, and he was like stomping on the hat and harassing them and everything, yada, yada, yada. Well, the story gets a little better than that. And again, shout out to Pierce Sky for sending this to me. I missed this. This is from the Daily Caller. A viral video of a group of Koreans, including 2 North Korean defectors, being harassed in Washington, D.C. for their support of President Donald Trump surfaced over the weekend. The video shows the group walking around in Make America Great Again, MAGA hats, in Washington, D.C. last month before 2 men started heckling them. One of the men can be seen pulling the hat off one of the victim's head and tossing it up in the air. So you've got these guys that have really been oppressed, that have really experienced the tyrannical government, and not experienced tyrannical government like liberals think they're experiencing, or like American black people think that they've experienced. And the irony here is sad and delicious at the same time. These people really have been through some shit, and this freaking clown comes over and pulls their hat off. And they just think they're probably like in the greatest country in the world. They're happy to be here. They're on U.S. soil. Thank you, President Trump. They got their MAGA hats on. And this clown show comes over to them and starts shit. Oh, man. Wish I would have been there. Oh, man. Anyway, sad story, but ironic at the same time. I hope the guy gets a lot of backlash for being an idiot. And one final note before I leave you guys. I just thought this was kind of a cool thing. Mrs. Publitarian was making her way around town, and she was in, it was either a Panera Bread or a Chipotle. And she was hearing some guy listening to like a podcast on his phone or laptop, and she was like, oh, that's kind of loud. And then she started listening, and she was like, wait a minute. That voice sounds familiar. Wait a minute. That's my husband. He's listening to my husband's podcast. So thank you to whoever it was that was playing my podcast loud and proud at the Chipotle or the Panera Bread locally in the penis of America, which we call Florida. Thank you so much for listening, and thanks for playing it loud and proud. And I salute you with a shot of Bullet Bourbon. Thanks for listening. And I want to thank the rest of you for listening as well. If you need to get a hold of me, you can. I am publitarian@gmail.com or thepublitarian@gmail.com. You can always DM me on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, even though I'm rarely go check my Facebook. I'm on Minds, I'm on Gab, I'm on Parlay, I'm on all the social medias. Again, thank you so much for listening to the Publitarian Podcast, and I'll see you guys next time.
Listening to Publitarian Podcast. Copyright 2019.